Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hashtag Some Weirdos podcast. Today we got Griffin on the podcast, and we're asking some questions.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
What's it like getting to join iconic franchises like the DC Universe and Pokemon?
It's hard to describe. I mean, I grew up watching, Teen Titans, Justice League, and Pokemon. Lord, if there's another game I've poured more hours into, I can't think of it off the top of my head. So it's insane, really. I'm incredibly grateful to have be given the opportunity to do so. And both those, all those projects I've worked on have been a ton of fun. DC Superhero Girls was so much fun because it's a very fast-paced comedy. Deathstroke is so dramatic and deep, and it's a really interesting character. And then Hop, even though it was just a short episode, he's such a great, fun, but like emotional character to work on, which is really cool. So I'm really, it's, as a fan and as an actor, it's the perfect union of just like, it's something you're really passionate about, and but also something you can really stretch your legs in and go for. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so for question 2, this one's about Beastars, actually. Can you relate to Louie at all? What are some things about him you relate to and some things you don't?
Yeah. I relate to Louis quite a bit in a lot of ways, and not so much in others. Funny enough, my experience in high school was actually kind of similar to Louis in the sense that like I did theater and I was in drama, and for some reason it attracted like fans and stuff, which was cool, but also weird because I was in high school and I was like, okay, this is whatever. Louis is also kind of he's a very moody and kind of
over dramatic,
interesting guy. He's very self-confident on the outside, but I feel like what I explored with this character is that he doesn't really like himself that much. If you like peel off the veneer of like who he's supposed to be and who he presents himself as, like underneath is this person that, well, he doesn't really know, and whatever it is he doesn't relate to and he doesn't like a whole lot. And I can relate to that on a bunch of different levels, you know. I mean, but on the flip side, Louis quite he's quite how would I say, he's quite confident in his in what he puts out there, and he can come across very arrogant and quite egotistical, and he's not really a people person. I don't think he really considers other people in a personal way. I think he views them as obstacles or means to an achievement. That doesn't mean he doesn't want to do good things. I just don't think he was ever taught or to relate to other people. Where I'm the exact opposite. I really like people. I think people are really interesting, and I like getting to know them and bring out the best in them. And it's one of the big reasons I became an actor, because I'm just so interested in studying like human interaction and what makes people tick and what the human experience is. So.
Well, that's pretty nice. That's a nice way to put a... I think you described his character pretty well, and despite all of the things he has done, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to Louis in the way you've put it. So yeah, that's well put.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of your most standout roles, in your opinion, anyways.
Standout roles. In terms of ones I'm most proud of, I would say Yona Basta in Gundam Narrative was one of the big roles that I just I remember feeling very, very happy with. I think as an actor, a lot of times it's not so much it's the process and of actually recording and spending time with the character and the preparation and then the execution that really I derive the most meaning out of. Getting to watch the stuff I'm into is really cool. It's kind of nice looking back and being like oh good, like that worked, or oh okay, I can tweak that for next time. But playing Yona for sure, that was intense. I mean, Gundam, if you're familiar with the series, is very melodramatic and very deep and a little dark, and that and my character went through and goes through quite a lot in his journey. So just to get there mentally and physically, believe it or not, like there's quite a bit of physical exertion with the character, and I do my best to like as close as I can get to like actually matching that and feeling that. I do. So like just I remember just how tensed up I was like during some of the mech battles, being jolted around at like however many G's in space and stuff. I would tense up and try and just feel the force of that, and it exhausted me. I mean, to the point that when we wrapped recording, I was sick for a week afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah. So that one for that one for sure. Listen, that's my own fault. I pushed myself. I mean, as far as I wanted to, and it worked out, and I was fine. But yeah, that one for sure sticks out in my mind. Louis, I'm very, very proud of. That was a character that I really wanted to not so much get right. I don't think acting is a matter of, or art is a matter of getting something right. It's about,
of course.
Yes.
It's
Thank
more
you.
about,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
did you explore the character, and did you find moments and find things that were unexpected and serendipitous, but like that worked somehow. So that for sure. My character in Deathstroke. I've been very like fortunate to play a lot of really, really cool and really deep, interesting characters. Those would be some of the standouts for sure, though.
You feel the same way as you do when it comes to acting. It's not more about getting to play the characters. It's just getting to explore those worlds, and just be immersed in it. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Best part, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's the world of the character too. Like I think what's great about storytelling is especially in film and animation, is like it's so multi-layered. It brings artistry of all different kinds together. Whether it's the hand-drawn art, whether it's 3D, visual effects, acting, music, singing, all of these things come together, and they have to sort of layer together in harmony. And with the story, it's like what you set up in your world sets up the conflict of the characters, which sets up the moments and the dialogue, and if it all stacks together well, like that's when you have a really special show. And I think that like that's the job of an actor or anyone in that process, is to slot in and to sort of come into parallel with what's going on. And it's when you get a great script and great actors and great people involved, like amazing thing happened. And I really feel like that's like with Beastars, we really nailed that. Like it's such a great show. I mean, outside of what I did or any of the actors did, it's a great show, and that's why the fans really love it. Yeah, we knew Jonah and I were both huge. Jonah, me, and Ben Diskin, we were all really big fans of the show before we knew we were in it. So we were familiar with the story and everything. So when we got cast, Jonah and I especially, we really wanted to get it right, because we knew the background of the show. We knew that the recording process was so unique. They got to record on a stage with and move around and interact with each other. And both Jonah and I are stage actors. That's where we started out. So I went to him and I was like, I would like to get together and just feel out these scenes, because we're not going to be in the booth recording together, but I want to know who Legoshi is, played by you. I want to feel that and feel out the scene and know, because there's so much of the best kind of acting is when you're not focused on exactly what you're doing. You're just sort of reacting to it. And it's in a lot of ways, like on stage and in on-camera acting, there's that element that kind of gets you out of your head, because the person's right there and the set's there and the props are there, and you don't have time to think about it. You just have to look at it.
Yeah.
And so we really practiced our scenes and studied and prepared for our characters with the thought of like, we want to make it sound like that, like kind of what the Japanese did, that we're there with each other and right in the moment. And I think on our scenes we did our best to sort of portray that. Yeah, I think it was just one of those things where like the entire cast, without even like seeing each other, we all just recognized what the show was. Like, oh, this is special, and we need to give it that extra mile.
You know what I think the best way to describe it is? I think the best way to describe Beastars as a whole, both sub and dub, it's like watching either like a play or a soap opera. for me.
Yes, absolutely. It's that it nails the passion and the melodrama perfectly, but it's believable despite the fact that it's a world that's both unlike our own, but echoes our own.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect.
Different
Yeah,
worlds.
it's kind of ironic how people compare it to a soap opera and stuff when it's actually a shonen. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, it's
that
a
is
shonen,
funny. Yeah,
really?
I feel what's cool about anime, especially in the last 10 years, is that I really feel like it's all the shows that are really getting the attention are really breaking, I think, genre boundaries. I think we're seeing unconventional shonen shows. We're seeing more influences from the West and the East, and all of it kind of coming together. And yeah, I think we're seeing some of the best creative work being done in that
Oh, yeah,
area, which is so cool.
But how was your voice acting career kickstarted?
Oh, a great question. I had started. I'd done singing and acting sort of my whole life. Just I was always interested in in mimicking voices, and I kind of had an ear for it. I would and all that. In high school, I really started to take the creative arts a little bit more seriously. Yeah, I did musical theater, and then I did improv and one act plays and all of that. And that's where I sort of figured out that oh, this is something that I can do. It's one of those things where even the boring parts of it I enjoyed, like the grinded out kind of slow monotonous things of acting I really enjoyed. So in college, when I went to college, I had some money and I had some free time on my hands in between classes, and I was kind of well, I've always sort of been interested in voice acting. What if I just gave it a shot? So I ended up buying some equipment, turning my closet into a recording booth, and started auditioning for online projects. Just sort of finding auditions on casting forums and stuff like that. I ended up connecting with a studio in LA, getting an internship there. I got to know the casting director, and over that summer, I ended up being in 2 shows that ended up on Toonami, which was One Punch Man and Hunter x Hunter, just playing very, very small roles. But that was my professional introduction into the world of voice acting, and then from there, from there I moved out to LA. I got an agent. I started doing a lot of work in video games, and then slowly made my way into animation and anime, and yeah, that's the I guess the condensed version of my voice acting story.
That's
pretty cool,
that's
man.
really cool.
What's a dream role of yours?
I would really like to play Sonic the Hedgehog. That would be really
Everyone would
Yes.
love to play Sonic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
That's one for sure that would. I think beyond any role, there are plenty of roles I want to play, but that one would be monumental.
Dude, I'm in the same boat. I'm a huge fan.
I've heard this was quite interesting, so I'd like to ask, but what was the process of working on the Beastars dub?
The process it was pretty straightforward, very similar to most dubbing productions I work on. I got sent auditions for the 2 main characters, Legoshi and Louie. At the time, I was familiar with the show. I had seen clips and stuff on YouTube and on the internet, but beyond that, I didn't know too much. Which most of the time I'm actually pretty cool with. I don't like knowing too much as an actor. I like sort of reacting to things as they happen. So I read for the characters, sent in my auditions, and then immediately after that, I was interested by the script and everything. So I decided to check out the first episode and got immediately sucked in and watched the entire series in one night and loved it. It was really, really wonderful. And
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I did.
It is so easy to get hooked. About November or so, my friend convinced me to watch episode 1. Not episode 1. He convinced me to read the Beastars manga, and I went through all of it in literally 2 days. It was insane.
Yeah, it's
very hooking.
It's so unique, and it sucks you in because on the outside you're just like, all right, I got it, anthropomorphic, furry show, whatever. I'll check it out, and then you see it and you're like, oh no, this is something different and special and unlike anything really out there. And yeah, so I finished the show, and about a few weeks later, this was after Christmas, I got an email and I found out I got the role. And we were gonna go in a week later to record for the first recording session. I also found out that Jonah got cast as Legoshi, and that's when during that week before our first recording session, we got together and talked about the characters, worked on a couple of scenes together. And then for me, Louis sort of, he's Legoshi's very much the focus of season 1. I mean, it's his story. And Louis's stuff is sort of scattered but integral. So we got done recording Louis fairly quickly. We had 3 recording sessions, a 4-hour and then two 2-hour recording sessions, and then we were done. So I was done in about like 3 weeks. 3 weeks, 3 days, 3 weeks of recording, and I was done with the role. And it was interesting because everything that happens to Louis in season 1 is very melodramatic and very intense. It was constantly shifting. I remember the last recording session especially, it was all the intense stuff, because everything that happens to Louis at the end of season 1 is very, dramatic and intense. It was one scene after another. It was the scene, the kidnapping scene, and then it was the fight, and then it was the scene with the gun, and all of that happened in recording time. I think 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like in a half hour, all of that was packed in. And so it was, I'm used to that sort of pace. When I first moved out to LA, I worked on a lot of video games, which I still do, but video games, you work at a crazy pace because there's thousands of lines, and they have to get them all recorded usually in 1 4-hour session. So you just go. So you learn to sort of shift between all different emotions and intensities and energies very quickly. So the process was it was fast paced, and paired with that is, at the beginning of recording, I was actually going through like a physical illness that was making me quite tired and quite sore. And it was funny that halfway through recording the first recording session, I was going through the same thing Louis was. Louis was dealing with an injury and sort of pretending he was fine, but being very hard on himself for not being able to perform at a certain level. And so it was a nice actor character moment where we were right in tune and it blended together. And that's when I sort of relaxed into the character. I remember being very kind of tense and kind of on myself and nervous about it for like the first hour or so. But then when I realized what was happening, I was like, oh, we're good. Let's just play now.
Yeah, I heard y'all had to do some re-recording at first, because from what I heard, at first Louis was pronounced as Lewis, and y'all had to go back a bit.
Yes, luckily, funny enough, Louis doesn't say his own name really that much.
Yeah.
But yes, it actually was. Yes, I remember with the first day they told me, like, oh, you're going to be playing Lewis, and my red flag went off in my head. I was like, no. I was like, I think are you sure it's not Louis? Because I think in the Japanese it's Rui. And they're like, no, it's Lewis. And I think they had some client. I don't know if they worked for Netflix or on behalf of Netflix, but they were in the room. So I was sort of like, okay, I mean, that's up to them. But anyway, they ended up second session being like, oh, by the way, we changed it to this, and I was like, oh, cool.
But yeah, I even noticed some bits where people pronounced Louis as Louis. I guess they didn't have time to record, but yeah, it was definitely very interesting, and it caught me a bit, so I did some research on it.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one. Yes, funny enough, there was one character. I won't say which one, but the actor wasn't available to come in, and this was like the last day of recording, and his lines had already been recorded, and he was saying Lewis. I was in the recording booth at the time, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to try something. Can you try voice matching this person?" I was like, "Sure." So basically, what they did was, they would play his line, and then I would come in a few words before and then say, instead of saying Lewis, I would say Louis. But then they kept the rest of the audio. So there's one character near the end of the show where it's that actor, but whenever he says Louis, it's my voice. It actually worked out pretty well. Like the guy who had recorded, we have similar voices, so I was able to sort of match what he did.
Yeah, and I noticed how throughout the show, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I noticed Netflix used a small set of voice actors for all the additional roles. I recognized Bryce's and Billy's voice quite a bit. It was kind of interesting though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the studio we record at SDI, we use we use a lot. I mean, anime voice actors, it's quite a tight group as it is, just because it's a specific skill set, and they end up using us quite a bit. I've been in quite a few shows with all the people in the Beastars cast. Jonah, me, and KG all did Kengan. KG and I did Ultramarine Magmel together. Me and Erica have done, good lord, everything from Beyblade to Yokai Watch to a bunch of different projects. So we're always in these things together, and yeah, it's cool. I do hear Billy was the Harlequin rabbit in Beastars.
Yeah.
I texted him the other day, and I was like, "Great job playing a horny rabbit." He's like, "Thanks, man."
Hey,
I really had to capture the character.
Yeah.
Okay, that went on a while. Sorry about that. Next question. What has been your weirdest role?
Ooh, great question. I feel like I should know the answer to this. The weirdest role. Oh God, yes. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I did this show. I just mentioned it earlier. A Netflix show called Kengan Ashura. It's the basic setup is all of the top companies in the world settle their contract disputes through underground cage fights.
What?
Yes, it's wild, and they yes, absolutely, and it's they hire these huge, burly, crazy fighter guys from all around the world to basically fight it out. It's Mortal Kombat Corporate Edition. It's hilarious, but they play it so seriously, and it's very, very bloody and very very violent and balls to the wall, really fun.
So wait.
Kengan Ashura. Kengan, Kengan Ashura.
Yeah, I've seen that on Netflix before.
I think so.
Yeah, and there's 2 seasons, and I play a couple of characters in it. My main guy is Ryan Kure, who's this really kind of crazy, just bloodthirsty. He's out to kill dudes, not win fights. He's kind of crazy. I play this other dude who's kind of lower pitched, and then for season 2, I continued playing those characters, but they brought me in for this one character he's there for an episode, an episode, but it's all about him and his story. And he again, so the companies, these are the top corporate companies fighting out their contract disputes, but they're all based on real ones in the real world. So my character was based on that Kengan Ashura's version of Disney, and I was a dude who was some crazy street thug, whose dream was to be a mascot, dress up as Mickey Mouse, and in the park, and it is so weird because it cuts to him in the suit. So you see him in the suit, and it's there are kids kind of around him, but the suit's at the kid's height. So then it cuts to a X-ray of him inside, and he's curled up with his arms kind of in this weird, his legs and arms all contorted, and his face just smiling because he's so happy, but it's creepy because he's this weirdo, and it's just the whole episode. It's his fight, but it's also his story of how he lost his job at Disneyland, I think is what they call it, but at Disneyland, and was heartbroken, but then they brought him in to fight for them in this underground thing, and then he wears the Mickey Mouse head. It's so weird. It's the weirdest character I've ever played, and I played some weirdos, but that was one I was like, okay, it was hilarious because I had brought, my friend had just moved out, and I was like, come to a recording session with me. I'll show you what it's like. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna show him like my cool character in Kangen. And they're like, so you're gonna be playing this guy? And I was like, oh fuck. I was so sad. That was it's somewhere in season 2. I actually haven't looked at it yet because I forgot that I did it. Like, I think my brain just blocked it out, but I was like, oh yeah. So I have to go check it out later, but it's in season 2 of Kengan Ashura on Netflix.
Are you sure you're not talking about the plot of the next Kingdom Hearts game?
Listen, I wouldn't put it past them. Kingdom Hearts 3 was pretty wild.
I got one more question for you. Is it okay if you read something for me in your Louis voice?
Sure, what do you want me to read?
Here, I'll send it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wait, you want me to say this as Louis or Sonic?
You could do both if you wanted, but as Louis, I'd prefer.
Sure. All right. I'll start as Louis, and then I might as well try my Sonic voice. All right. I will never date an ugly girl. Why? Because I don't believe they exist. You don't believe they exist? Come on, man. There are plenty of ugly girls out there.
Whoa!
Good.
Oh my gosh, that's really good.
I have to ask one thing. You auditioned for Legacy, right?
Yes, I did audition for Legacy.
What did your Legacy sound like? I'm curious.
Yeah. My Legacy, if I remember the audition line, it was something like, I feel sorry for Tem that his first love had to find out after he died. It wouldn't change anything. My Legacy basically sounded like this. I mean, listen, Jonah, I knew, the minute I found out Jonah got the role, I was like, oh yeah, like, that's just him.
Yeah.
Like, Jonah is that, you know?
What is the most memorable moment of your career?
Oh God. Most memorable moment of...
Or moments, either is fine.
I'd say there's a couple. I mean, getting to the first theatrical movie I was in was called Fireworks. It came out summer of 2018, if I remember correctly. Yeah, summer of 2018, and that was really cool. I got to take I got all my friends together from like my high school days and my elementary school days, and all my friends came together and we went to the movie theater and we watched it, and that was awesome, cool. Because that's, you don't even. It was so weird because when you go to the movies, you go to see a movie, but then I heard my voice up there, and then a couple months later, I ended up in the Gundam movie, and they actually did like pre-recorded. Oh, this was hilarious. They did sort of an interview thing, a behind the scenes thing before the movie started, and they filmed the actors talking about the roles, and I was up on screen, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then I looked down and I realized that I'm wearing the same shirt that I'm wearing in the thing, and I was like, oh shoot, everyone's gonna see me, and which was kind of cool. But there's that. I actually remember that the first film I worked on, Fireworks. That was one of the more memorable moments because I remember after we finished recording, it was a very difficult recording process, or challenging, I would say, just because I had done so many video games up to that point that I started kind of running on automatic. Like, I kind of was like, okay, here's my A/B take, moving on, and like I got very good at being like doing the job really fast. And for that movie and that studio, they really wanted to slow it down and to spend time with it. And I remember my directors were Michael Sinter-Nicholas and Stephanie Shea, and I remember them coming into the booth and sort of talking to me like, hey, so like, you're doing great, but we want you to focus on like, you're outside and the sun is setting, like you feel the heat of the sun on your face on the right side. There's food cooking in front of you. What are you smelling? And they trying to get me to be like, oh right, I'm an actor. Like, I need to be like thinking about what's happening in the moment and not trying to be flashy and fast. And so I remember when we wrapped recording, I sat down with them for like 3 hours and we just talked about life and stuff. That was really cool. They're two of my favorite people.
Yeah, like the best part of working on stuff like this, well, one of the best parts, like I don't really think there is a best part per se, but like one of the best parts is getting to know the people you work with, you know? It's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, they're wonderful, like, people. Like, I think all people, but creative people have this way about them that's, they all have their own stories and reasons for doing what they do, and it's great getting to know them. And they've been really wonderful in my career. They've really the role I got in Deathstroke actually was because of them. They were working on the project, and this was very early on. They asked, "Hey, do you want to come in and do scratch audio for this DC project we're working on?" Scratch audio is basically like they put down voices for the animators to animate to and to work with, but they're not the final voices. They're just like for the studio, the animation studio's purposes. So they're like, it's for this Deathstroke film. You'll come in and you'll record the movie, and then they'll use that. When I found out what the role was Jericho, I really, really wanted it, and I was like, I need to go above and beyond and really show that like I can get this role. And I remember going in, and this was an entire movie script, so hour and a half, hour 45. We recorded in 30 minutes because it's scratch audio, and I remember just giving it my all and just trying to be like so good to convince them that I should be cast as this part. And 30 minutes passed, it was over. I thanked Michael, who was my director, and thanked everyone at the animation studio, and then I left. And as I was getting into my car, I got an email from my agent with saying, "Hey, new auditions out for new Deathstroke animated movie." And my heart sank a little bit because I was like, I just finished recording for this character.
Oh no!
Like, I memorized the script and I put all this work into it, and now I have to earn it again. And I knew that was going to happen, but I was like, okay. And I went home and I auditioned for it, and I waited and I waited and I waited, and months went by, and I was convinced I didn't get it. And then Michael and Stephanie came up to me at this event, and they said, "Hey, we have good news for you. You got the role." I was like, "What do you mean? That was months ago." And they're like, "Yeah, the animators ended up really falling in love with your voice because they had been animating to it for months, and they really want you. And we were really pushing for you to get this role. They thought they were going to go in a different direction, but yeah, they ended up with you." So that was a really cool story too. Yeah, but there's so many, and they all have to do with just sort of like all the people you get to meet, because they're they're all unique and fun and interesting and really great people in their own respect. And it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know everybody in this industry. It's been really cool.